So we are live once again on the Undisputed GOAT podcast. I know noticeably missing is the great Flash 22. He's out with illness tonight, man. We miss our guy, man. But the Pat McAfee of this show will be back next week. So big shout out to Flash, man. We miss you, bro. Wish we could do the show with you today, but unfortunately we have to, want to get rid of it today. But hey, Flash wouldn't have it any other way. The show had to go on, man. So, and he probably would have killed us if we would have canceled the show today.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, he probably would have had some word with us. Yeah, he would have had some. He would have had some word with us if we didn't do the show tonight. So yeah, we gonna shout out to our Wisconsin brother. He's fighting an illness that I've had before. It ain't nothing to play with. I ain't gonna get too in depth with it. All I'm gonna say is get well soon, homie. Next week we gonna run it on Monday nights like we always do. So get well soon, my brother.
Yeah, get well soon, man. Like I said, man, Ed, that is nothing to play with, man. And look, like I said, he would have thought about cancer, but he would have killed us both if if we would have said cancel the show for the night.
Right.
So he demanded that the show go on. So as we're tuning in to Raw, we're gonna get right into it, man. As we all know, the WNBA season has gotten off to a good start, man. There's been a lot of good news in the WNBA at this moment, but I gotta ask this, man. Look, earlier this year, when all the acquisitions were made with Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, DeWanna Bonner, all of those great players, there was a lot of questions on can these players contribute to the Indiana Fever winning a championship. And thus far, it has not looked that good. Leading up to yesterday's game, Caitlin Clark was 0 for 12 from the three-point line. And she had 10 turnovers in that last game against the New York Liberty. So, hey, and big shout out to Sports PSP, like and subscribe. Hey, make sure y'all go follow PSP ASAP, already up to 110K on YouTube. And shout out to Leaf, Mr. New York City.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Leaf. But I have to ask this, man. I got to ask you this, man. Did we do a bad job of crowning the Indiana Fever a little bit too soon as contenders at this point?
No. I mean, they're like 4 games into their season. I mean, you're very rarely going to get a team built the way that the Indiana Fever were built, just firing on all cylinders off the bat, because this is a better team than last year. So with the players that they brought in, they got to build camaraderie. They have to build, that chemistry with one another. No, I don't think it's too early at all. I still think they're like one of like a handful of teams or so that I think can go all the way and win a championship this year. Like I told you, I think it's about at least 5-6 teams offhand that I think can go and actually get it this year. And they're one of my teams. So did we crown them too early? No, absolutely not. I mean, check this out. I was looking at the standings earlier in the WNBA. If the playoffs were to start today, you know how many teams from the West would make the playoffs and how many teams from the East would make the playoffs?
I think all 8 teams from the West and the Fever.
Nah, it would be 5 from the West, 3 from the East. Because the way the WNBA does it, even though they have 6 teams in each conference, they do it off a record and they seed. So 5 teams out the West will make it, and only 3 from the East will make it. So no, it's not too early. It ain't too early.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that question is because a lot of the turnovers that Caitlin Clark was having, the turnover issues that she was having against the New York Liberty, not to mention the last couple of games, she wasn't doing good from the free throw line. So that was the main reason why I asked that question. Another real pipe bomb question before we move over to the next segment. Is the Las Vegas Aces in trouble, do you think?
I still think it's early, but I do think with the Aces, their biggest issue is who's going to replace the skill set and the leadership of a Kelsey Plum. Now, don't get me wrong. From what I've seen, Jewel Lloyd has come in and has been killing it. But even still, Kelsey Plum, when it came to big time moments and big situations, she might not always had the greatest stats, but she was a different breed. So it's just going to be a matter of down the line this regular season. Who's going to step up and replace that leadership that Kelsey Plum brought? It wasn't just her skill set. It wasn't just her ability to score and playmate. It was her leadership on the court. So that's really the biggest thing with me. It's still too early, but if I'm the Vegas Aces, I would kind of like you have to kind of look from within and just see who you can find that's willing to take that step. So I still think it's a little early, but I'll say this with the WNBA not having as many games as like other leagues, as like not even really having half the games like the NBA, they're not going to have as much time to maybe they're not going to have as much time to get it together and really try to find it before we're getting late into the season and we're talking about the playoffs. But I still think I do still think it's a little early for Vegas, and I mean, and it's one of those to me with Vegas. It's like as long as you got Asia Wilson and as long as you got Becky Hammon, they're going to find a way to get the most out of the supporting cast and the players around them. So I personally think they're going to be in it late season when we're talking playoffs. They're going to be in the mix of it because I still think they still have enough talent there to be in the mix.
Okay. So as you already know, speaking of the Indiana Fever, look, a huge blow not only to the WNBA but to the Fever as well. Caitlin Clark is out for the next 2 weeks, at least minimum the next 2 weeks with a quadricep injury, the Triple H injury. Not a severe, but every time I hear quadricep, I think about Triple H.
Right.
but I digress. But I have to ask you this: how's this injury going to affect the Fever and the WNBA? Do you think that this is going to have a dramatic hit on the viewership, or do you think this is going to not? Do you think that the Indiana Fever are going to struggle greatly without her, or what do you think is going to happen from here on in?
I'm gonna start with the team perspective. It's gonna hurt a little bit just from the standpoint of Caitlin Clark and her and how she's already been acclimated in that offense, being able to run that offense, and as good as she is running that offense already. Now, I will say this though, having a Kelsey Mitchell, who's probably going to take over and be the starting point guard with Caitlin being out, is not exactly a bad luxury to have. Kelsey Mitchell's an all-star in her own right. So it's not really a bad replacement to come in and take over to run the point while you're gone. I don't think it's really gonna affect them that much personally. I really just think, it's just really about the team and them understanding, okay, Caitlin's out. Let's really we got to continue to build. We know what the ultimate goal here as at the end of the day is. The ultimate goal here at the end of the day is a WNBA championship, and hopefully like the injury, like as the reports are saying, is going to be hopefully it's just a couple of weeks, because I mean from that sounds like it's a strained quad, so hopefully it's not as bad. I will say this though, I will worry them a little bit because the quad can be one of the more nagging injuries in all the sports, depending on the severity. It can nag because you rehab it, you get it right, you think it's gone, and then just all of a sudden something else could happen. So I really hope that it's not that bad, and she can get back on the court and just get back with the Fever, and hopefully they continue to do damage. But I think they're going to be okay without her. I don't think it's going to be. It'd be one thing if she was missing the rest of the season, but a couple of weeks, I think they could kind of hold water and kind of maintain a level of consistency. As far as the WNBA is concerned, I don't think it's going to hurt ratings that much. I think if anything, it's going to allow players that weren't necessarily getting talk as far as like what they've been doing so far to really kind of get mentioned, like the Jewel Loys of the world, what she's doing in San Antonio, Nafisa Collier, what she's doing up in Minnesota. Just a lot of players that hasn't really been getting a lot of talk. Maybe they can really, get some notoriety, get some attention. So this is what I'm gonna hark back on. If this was the end of the regular season, then by all means, it wouldn't be as bad. But yeah, just excuse the technical difficulties for the big homie. He should be back in a little while. So I'm gonna man it a little bit. I'm gonna kind of I was trying to finish it up. I know y'all are still watching, but I will try to freestyle it. So if you are if you are looking and you are watching the show, if you want to drop a question or so until Champ gets back, feel free. I'm open to feedback. I'm open to questions. So if you got anything you want to ask, just feel free to hit him up here while Champ's getting himself together and hopefully getting back on the show. And definitely shout out to the homie Leaf, man. Leaf's always commenting, always showing us love in here. You know, whether it's questions or, you know, kind of mentioning stuff, shouting us out in chat. Yeah, Leaf is always.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of technical difficulties down here in Georgia. Had lights went out just a little bit, but the show must go on. As you were saying, BRF.
Oh no, I was no like no, I was saying like what I was saying about the injury was I don't think it's gonna bother. I don't think it's gonna bother the Fever as much as what everybody's gonna make it seem like it's going to. I mean, like I said, if it's only for a couple of weeks, I think they can. I think they can tread water and they can hold out. Um, because I mean they still have really good players on that squad that can hold it together until she gets back. So I don't. I mean, it'd be one thing if they didn't have any depth, but they got plenty of depth on that team. Like I said, particularly with Kelsey Mitchell, who could come in immediately and run the point while Caitlin's out. So I don't think it's too terrible as long as it's only, like I said, as long as it's only a couple of weeks. As far as the WNBA concerned, I mean, I get that. I get it. And Leaf had put a comment. Leaf put a comment in the chat. He had said, Caitlin Clark's injury is definitely going to hurt the WNBA." Look, I completely understand. It's okay. So yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the ratings. It's going to hurt them. But I also feel like there's still a lot of really, really good players in the league, and I think with the WNBA, I get most of the Fever games are televised, but at the same time, no, I think this is where they kind of messed up a little bit. They should have prepared for this. They should have prepared in the event that she got hurt. Because look at what Paige Beckers is already doing as a rookie. Look at what Jewel Lloyd is doing coming in San Antonio. Look at what Nafisa Collier is doing up in Minnesota. Look at what the Atlanta Dream have come out of the gates and are already doing. So yes, okay. So I didn't give it as much credit, but I still feel like the WNBA, as long as it's not a long injury, they can hold water and they can still get viewers until Caitlin Clark come back. I still think there's a lot of good teams. There's good teams and there's good players out there. So will it hurt? Yes. Will it kill them? No, I don't think it's going to kill them.
I don't think it's going to kill them either. And the reason why, and if you remember on Sports PSP's podcast and last week's podcast, we were talking about this as well. We were talking about the fact that the WNBA needs to do a better job of advertising their players as a whole and not just focusing on the controversy of the players that are involved, particularly with the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever. And I believe wholeheartedly this is the perfect opportunity for you to, say, hey, Now that we're missing our most recognizable face in the league, hey, let's start pointing the camera a little bit more at Asia Wilson, who's a recognizable face. Let's start pointing the camera a little bit more at Nafisa Correa, who's the MVP candidate. Let's start pointing the camera to our biggest market in the WNBA, the two biggest markets in the WNBA, that being Los Angeles and that being in New York, whose team is now valued at $400 million at this point. Let's start pointing the camera a little bit more at those teams and start giving those teams a chance in order to shine. That way, we won't have any trouble with some of the things that are going on at this point. And I truly believe once they start doing that, and once they start taking the time in order to get the camera and the TV time on a lot of these other players, that eventually that will help the WNBA process.
Oh, and there goes Champ again. Oh my goodness. Of course, on a night like this, we're going through the technical difficulty stage, and yeah, just give it a look. There, okay, here we go.
Yeah, that will help the WNBA prosper as a whole. Because right now you're between a rock and a hard place. If this was to happen again, then if she was to get injured again, or she's out for a long period of time, then there goes the ratings, because you're not advertising everybody. And if that keeps happening at a certain period of time, then guess what? You're not going to be able to sell the controversy that you want. And hey, you're back to square one as far as the WNBA. This is a perfect time for them to advertise the rest of the WNBA and not put the NBA in a box and invest too much in one team. What do you think?
I definitely agree with that. I get Caitlin Clark's skill set is a big time rarity as far as what we've seen in the women's game. It's a big rarity. But like I said, I feel like there's so many, and I think this was one of the things where I kind of knew the WNBA could get themselves in trouble with a you might, if you want to call her a generational talent. I mean, I don't think there's no. I mean, I think she's absolutely a generational talent when it comes to the WNBA and the women's basketball, and being a force in women's basketball. But I mean, this is where I felt like they could get themselves in trouble. As great a player as Caitlin Clark is, and as much as fans are going to be following her and focusing on her, they still have to remember they have other great players that now they can really showcase and show that the WNBA is not a one-woman show. If they're gonna do it, this will be the perfect time to do it. We know Caitlin Clark is gonna be the cash cow, but they have to establish that this is not a one-woman league. They have to go and establish it now, because if they don't, it could really hurt them. And like you said, they're gonna be right back to square one.
Yeah. It could really hurt them in the long run if they don't get it under control. Like I said, I don't think they've been doing a good job of advertising their players as a whole. They've just been honing in on Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and focusing on every time something so much as somebody thump one another, and it's just like crazy. But and then they tried to make a big deal out of what happened between her and Rhea Howard, and they was out there playing. And the thing is, they try to show the controversy during the game, but they don't show that her and Rhea Howard was playing, playing with each other's hair after the game. So that's what I think the media is doing a terrible job of doing. They're doing a terrible job of promoting the WNBA as far as outside of the controversy, and that's what's missing at this point. They need to try to promote outside of the controversy and showcase their other players. And they need to showcase their other players, especially the player who's been a stalemate for the WNBA for a long period of time, and players like Kelsey Plum, who right now is an MVP candidate at this point in the largest market in the WNBA. So if I may ask, is she an MVP candidate in your humble opinion?
Right, candidate, yes, but she would not be my pick. But right now, yeah, you have to absolutely say, I mean, you know what I'm saying? This is like water cooler talk, you know, at the beginning of the year, you know, we hyping up, you know, teams and players that have come out of the gate swinging early. This is what we like to do. So right now, I think she's she's second in the league in scoring behind Nafisa Collier. I think she's averaging like 24 right now. She's been obviously she's always been
right behind Nafisa Collier in scoring.
Exactly. She's always been able to bomb the three. I mean, that's never been a question with Kelsey Plum. And what she's doing with the LA Sparks is coming in and really just, being another scoring threat. You know, already having Rakia Jackson, already having Cameron Brink, already having De'Erica Hamby. You know, just being another force on that squad. And I think it helps having those players already there because it does kind of take. You know, she's basically like, I hate to say, she might be the fourth option on that team behind those three, but I mean, you can make a legit case she's the fourth option on the team, so she has really no pressure to come in and just ball out. So I think right now, absolutely, she's an MVP candidate. She's not the MVP, but she's an MVP candidate.
Do you think Nafisa Collier right now is the undisputed MVP right now? I do not emphasize thus far.
Landslide. If I had, bro, Nafisa Collier is averaging basically 30 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block on 56% shooting from the field and 53% from 3. Landslide. Just, it's not even close. Like, if you had a pick right now, she ought to be unanimous. But like I said, it's water cooler talk. That's why it's only been like 4 games in the season. But if the season ended today, she'd be unanimous.
Yeah. Do you feel like that her and A'ja Wilson, as far as the MVP is concerned, they're like they're to the WNBA what Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson is to the NFL?
They're the 2 best players in the WNBA right now, no question, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are gonna bring up Caitlin. I understand because of the hype, but I mean, come on, as good as Caitlin is, I mean, come on, y'all. Look at what Nafisa Collier is doing this year, and look at what A'ja Wilson has done in her career, and look at what she's still doing now with a lesser Vegas Aces squad. I mean, A'ja Wilson and Nafisa Collier right now are the 2 best players in the league.
Yes, indeed they are. If you really want me to be honest, the top 3 players in the league has to be A'ja Wilson, Collier, and I will say Breanna Stewart.
I would agree with that top 3.
Breanna Stewart in there.
I would agree with that top 3 right now at this moment.
So I put those 3 in there. And it's just those 3 and everybody else. Everybody else, you can put them in line wherever you want to put them.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's those 3 in the NBA. Speaking of big 3, do you what do you think of the big 3 that's forming up there in Washington? I know Georgia Moore is not there right now because he's not in preseason. What future of that organization with those 3 magnificent players, and Kiki Ariaffin, Sonia Citron, and Georgia Moore? What are your thoughts about that?
I like what I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of Washington, but I do. I have liked what I've seen from them so far. I mean, it's definitely it's good. It's good seeing one basketball team in Washington make progress. You don't need 2 bad teams in Washington. You got to have one kind of step up and kind of make an impact. So it's good that right now the Mystics are kind of trying to be that team right now. It's definitely good to see. And I'm like, yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a breath of fresh air. Because let me tell you something. If you follow the WNBA, you know the Washington Mystics are like they're a staple. They are a staple franchise in the WNBA. I mean, they've won a chip. I mean, they are a standout franchise. They've won before. So I mean, it's good. It's good seeing the Washington Mystics play good ball in the WNBA. It's good seeing them play good ball. It's refreshing to see them actually have some talent up there.
Okay. What do you think about, look, I've been around a lot of my homegirls, right, and they call the WNBA the W. What do you think about that? Does that name stick to you, or do we just need to stick to what we normally call it?
Nah, that nickname's gonna stick. I personally like it. That nickname's gonna stick. That nickname's gonna stick.
I like that nickname too.
Yeah, that nickname's gonna stick because it's like it's simple, but it's something like that can really attract you to the product even more. I think that nickname's gonna stick personally.
Yes, indeed. I believe it is too. One of my good friends, she loves basketball. She was like, I didn't know you covered the W. I'm like, what you talking about, the W? I was like, WWE. She's like, no, you cover the WNBA. I'm like, oh, okay. So y'all call it the W. Yeah, we call it the W. That's it's very, very catchy. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very catchy. Rather than saying, I'm going to go home and catch the WNBA, we got to go watch the W.
And I think with the league like the WNBA, with leagues and stuff like that, it takes little stuff like that too. That's catchy, that can help it catch on with the casual fans. That nickname's gonna stick.
Mm-hmm. I think it is too. Is this season a disappointment if the Indiana Fever don't make the playoffs?
Oh, it's bust. If they don't make the playoffs, it's bust. Because, I mean, that team is constructed to win a WNBA title. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a bust.
Do you see a possibility, and I made a video about this, do you see a possibility that if this team does not win a championship in the next like 3 to 4 years, with how this team is construction? I know DeWanna Bonner, she's kind of up there in age at this point, but considering they have Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin Clark, the big three up there. Then you have Lexi Hole, Sophia Cunningham, those players who are on the kind of the young side. If this team doesn't win within the next 2 to 3 years, is Caitlin Clark going to start getting like the early LeBron James criticisms, considering how this team has been constructed to win early, and she came into a situation where there was Kelsey Mitchell and and was Rookie of the Year. She could get from LeBron James criticism if she doesn't win in 3 years.
I would hate that for her. I would hate that for her because like LeBron, I think he really didn't start getting those criticisms until like he really didn't get those he really didn't get the criticism like that before he made the finals the first time, where he started getting
but I think a very, very bad issue for Caitlin Clark if she was to start getting that, if she wasn't winning with the next couple of years, because it would be
excuse us again, man. The technical difficulties have been rough, like champs in Columbus right now. So I think they getting the brunt of like the bad weather. Bad weather's been kind of hitting Georgia today. I know up here like Madison, where I'm from, we got some rain. I think Columbus is hitting him a little harder right now. So bear with him a little bit. Hopefully, he can get back on and we can keep the show rolling. We trying to speed through it tonight because, like he said, we're missing the big homie Flash 22. He's fighting illness right now, so we're definitely hoping he's get better. But we'll give it a few minutes. Give it a few minutes, see if he comes back. If y'all got any questions, feel free to hit him up. Feel free to post them in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'll definitely peek through if y'all got any questions.
I think the show cursed tonight. But
I'm telling you, man.
yeah, I think
I'm
Flash
telling you.
tonight, bro. But let's
Flat,
continue.
flat. I think Flash should have cut us some slack tonight. I ain't realize we were finna go through this.
Man, we'll never have this many, man. I apologize to the studio audience out there, man. We don't never have this many technical difficulties. Usually, you might have one or two glitches here and there, but never this bad. But
no, I kind of explained to the people though. You know, you kind of like bad weatherman kind of hitting us down here in the state of GA. Madison got some. I think you getting it pretty hard down up there. So I know they're probably like kind of the brunt of what's going on with you. So
yeah, that's kind of the brunt because internet pretty good. I got wild, so it's up pretty good up here. But I hope that does not happen to Caitlin Clark. As far as I'm hoping that she wins early and it elevates her into the stratosphere. She's already up there as far as being a superstar. But if she starts getting that LeBron James label, I think that will be a bad situation. And the thing is, a lot of people are looking to see her fail. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of people who want to see her fail.
oh, absolutely,
So I
absolutely,
want
and that
to see that happen.
and, oh, absolutely, and it basically comes from the immediate hype that she came in with. Now I'll say this, like comparing it to the LeBron James situation, he really didn't get it until after he made the finals the first time. Where the criticisms really hit was when he was with Cleveland and they were just pumping out number one seeds back to back to back, and they couldn't get out the East, and then he had to leave to go to Miami, and then he has that choke job against the Dallas Mavericks. So I think with Caitlyn, it possibly could happen quicker just from the standpoint that she was anointed as the savior of the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
So if she doesn't come out and start winning championships off the bat, it could possibly hurt her. I don't think it's fair, but not every analyst and every critic is going to be as nice. So if she's not winning the championship within the next 2-3 years with the team that's constructed, not only might she get the LeBron James treatment as far as like her critique and how people might say, she's a choker in the playoffs, but when that free agency roll around, when that free agency roll around from Caitlin Clark, she's definitely going to command the most money ever seen as far as the WNBA in a singular contract. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how much she's going to be able to command. Because y'all going to think I'm crazy for saying this. Caitlin Clark might be the first 9-figure contract in the WNBA. At least the first big money eight digit. She might be a 9. You just never know.
I think it's going to be. Remember, the collective bargaining agreement is coming up, and guess who's a free agent next year? A'ja Wilson.
A'ja Wilson is
a free agent next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly that collective bargaining agreement can go through, and if she will be the first, and then after that, Caitlin Clark, hers just quadruples. So it will be
exactly, and it's going to be very interesting. Caitlin Clark is going to be eyeing that. We could say Caitlin Clark might want to spend her entire career in Indiana, and that's all fine and dandy. And I can appreciate that being a fan if she wants to be a lifelong Indiana Fever. Y'all ain't finna sit here and tell me Caitlin Clark's not gonna be eyeing that A'ja Wilson free agency to see how much money she gonna command, because what sports are nowadays. It's supply and demand. It's whatever somebody gets, how you top this. That's what sports is. So best believe Caitlin Clark gonna be eyeing that A'ja Wilson situation, because whatever she get, Caitlin Clark gonna want to try to beat that and then some. So that is definitely gonna be a situation to keep an eye on after the 2025 season.
Yes, because A'ja Wilson and a lot of other great players, they are up for their contracts, and it's going to be interesting to see what each of them are going to get after this year. So,
exactly.
I think, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Any other players that are in the WNBA at this point that are being ignored, especially in the MVP convo, in your opinion? Any other players that you think that are being ignored?
I think right now, as far as like the early MVP talks, you're looking at Breanna Stewart, you're looking at Caitlin Clark, you're looking at Nafisa Collier, you're looking at Jewel Lloyd, you're looking at A'ja Wilson. You're looking at Ogumbawale from Dallas, Arike Ogumbawale from Dallas. I think right now is basically the usual suspects. I don't think no one's necessarily really getting overlooked at the moment because I feel like it's the usual suspects. So I don't think anyone's being overlooked right now. I think it's going to be more, if anything, like a lot of like what we talked about earlier in the show. Like a lot of the players are finally going to get a little bit of the spotlight that Caitlin Clark's been getting with her being out. And I mean, is it unfortunate that she's out? Yes, but at the same time, it's sports and it's a business, and it's kind of like that next man up mentality regardless of what's going on. So it's going to be good to see. I hope that the WNBA can really can just capitalize on a lot of other names out there that have been doing their thing this year so far. So I think right now it's basically just the usual suspects. I don't think nobody's really jumping out to me so far as a surprise contender. Like I think what's jumping out at me more, Nafisa Collier is not a surprise MVP candidate. She's not. It's how she's dominating this year that might come out as a little shock because she's basically like this is like like if she maintains these averages for the NBA for the WNBA season, this is the best year of her career. So I think this is
Arguably in
where kind
history.
of a little bit of exactly. So I think this is where it's kind of like a little bit of the surprise because it's not a surprise, but like you're like, man, I knew she was good, but man, she's like dominating. So we'll yeah, we'll kind of see as the season transpires. I think right now though, it's the usual suspects right now. I don't think there's not like a surprise player that's not being talked about right now for the MVP.
Okay. Angel Reese, I got to ask you this question. She had a pretty decent game last night, although the Chicago Sky are just decimated at this point and they don't have a lot of chemistry on that team. Right now, there's a lot of criticism because she had a very, very kind of lackluster game, the game prior to last night. Or you think that or you think that people are being a little bit too impatient with her and not realizing that this is her sophomore year, the same way as we were graceful towards a lot of other players. You know, a lot of other players didn't really come into their own until about year 2 or year 3. Do you think that a lot of people are being critical to the Bayou Barbie in the fact that this is only her second year? She made the All-Star team last year. She set the rebounding record last year for most of the WNBA season. She set the double-double record. Do you think that people are not being as patient with her as they are with a lot of other players that are coming to the league? Or do you think that because of the hype and all of the spotlight that this warranted the criticism that she's received?
I think a lot of it is the hype that she came in with because now you're seeing like a lot of people talking about she's this bad player and all this other stuff. And I'm just thinking about it, bro. Wasn't she like SEC Player of the Year at one point? Like when she 2-time All American, when she all Big Ten in Maryland before she came over to the SEC to LSU. People act like Angel Reese before she came to the NBA wasn't already one of the most decorated college players to grace college basketball. So I think a lot of it is the hype though. I think a lot of it is the hype though because it's on because we talked about it a lot in the offseason. Like she really needed to work on her offensive game. And I think she's gotten a little better, but it's honestly I think it's because of the hype. People, you know what I'm saying? People are about like quick, they want to see a quick return as far as the investment. You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of this is about. And yeah, so the hype has brought a lot of this on her, and she hasn't done herself any justice either. With some of the comments and some of the quotes, some of the headlines that she's made, as far as her talking or whatnot. She hasn't done herself really a lot of favor. So if I'm Angel Reese, I am really about you're in the season. I'm still every day. I'm trying to find my offensive flow. I'm trying to find my offensive game because let's face it, the Chicago Sky are not a good team. That team is not constructed at all to really contend and win like you feel like a team with an Ariel Atkins, with a Lindsey Vandersloot, with a we'll go Courtney Vandersloot, pardon me, Courtney Vandersloot, with Camila Cardozo, with Angel Reese. It's not like they don't have talent on that squad. They do have talent on that squad. They just don't have a lot of depth after the starting five. So that team already isn't constructed. Like it's like I saw this post on IG, and I can't remember the page, but I followed her, and she was making a lot of really really good points. The Chicago Sky has no veteran bigs to really take Camila Cardozo and Angel Reese under her wing and really allow one of them to really develop, because it's basically like they're forcing Angel Reese to be a superstar on the fly, and it's like, man, she really doesn't have that much of an offensive game. I mean, yeah, she's right now. She's been the best rebounder in the WNBA since she got in the league. If I'm not mistaken, she's leading the league in rebounds again. I think she's averaging over 13 a game. But a lot of that is off of her. But a lot of that is off of her misses. And that's one thing she's really going to have to correct if she wants to become a better basketball player. She has to become more efficient offensively. She has to, especially with her being a big, with her not really having that much of not having much of an outside game. She doesn't take too many shots, outside of the paint. So she really has to work on becoming more efficient in the lane, in the post. Like she's got to continue to work on her footwork. Her footwork has gotten better, and it's gotten noticeably better. But still, she doesn't always finish. So she's got to really improve on her efficiency and finishing, in the lane. Because I really think when it gets to that point where she becomes unstoppable in the paint, it's really going to open the door for everybody else. Because Angel Reese has a pretty high basketball IQ. She's a pretty good playmaker, being a post player. She's a good passer. So I think a lot of that will come, but I just don't think she's really done herself really any favors with a lot of the headlines and stuff like that. Because just like Caitlin Clark, a lot of people want to see Angel Reese fail too, from the standpoint of, it's people's like, oh, well, you wouldn't hear you wouldn't know who Angel Reese is if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark. And it's like, to an extent, Angel Reese still would have been a high draft pick, regardless of whether Caitlin Clark was drafted or not, because you're drafting on reputation out of college, and you're drafting on potential and how it could translate to the next level. So she still would have been a high draft. She still would have been a high draft pick, Caitlin Clark or no Caitlin Clark. But like I said, she just hasn't really done herself any favors as far as like the media and stuff that she says. So she really needs to. If I'm her, I back off a little bit and I really focus on trying to become a better basketball player. I mean, and I understand, she grown. You can't tell a grown person what to do. But if I'm in her shoes, I'm focusing on trying to be the best player I can be. Because if she becomes what a lot of people still feel like she could really be, her and Caitlin could really like carry the league into the next generation of like talent, especially with the talent that's coming into the league the next few years out of college. And these two could potentially be the faces of the league. But if Angel Reese doesn't get better as a talent, it's not going to be that much of a rivalry, even though we've seen rivalries in sports in the past with one really, really great player and one player that's not as good. But a lot of cases in those rivalries, the players that isn't as good is beating the better player because he's got the better team around him. So we just, it's a long way to go with Angel, but I just feel like she really hasn't done herself any service with some of the headlines she's made.
I'm gonna be real, bro. If I'm her, I'm just gonna be real. I don't think a lot of times we do a lot of ourselves a favor, because people are saying she's not doing herself any favor, especially with the whole Met Gala situation. Because when you tell the press that you're operating on 4 hours of sleep, now she did do herself a lot of good service by making sure she played in an unrivaled and playing with some of the greatest players in the league. She did do herself a lot of favors by training with Lisa Leslie. A lot of people don't want to talk about that. She did do herself a lot of favors with training with some of the best in the world. But the thing is, once that season starts, you have to be very, very, even preseason, you have to be very, very cautious about what you do. Because like I said, it's kind of like the Sadua Sanders effect. Everybody wants to see Sadua fail, much like everybody wants to see Angel fail. And it's not just the majority. A lot of people within their own community want to see her fail. So the thing is, you're not going to be given a lot of grace, especially when you're at a lot of these functions, which you are a celebrity. You have every right to be at these functions. They're going to invite you. You're one of the most recognizable faces in the WNBA. But at the same time, you have to understand what comes with that territory. You know, if Mika Parsons was to get only 4 hours of sleep and admit that to the media, him playing for the Dallas Cowboys, we would eat him alive.
Paul George. But sometimes when he play defense, he play like he get 4 hours of sleep. But that's another conversation for another day.
You are not helping. Paul George, when he was injured and still doing his podcast, we ate him alive. So I know we're not, and I brought this up to someone. I don't think we're at this level in society right now where we're ready to hear a lot of criticism for female athletes. You know, we're used to hearing it on a very high level when it comes to men's athletes, because the only thing you hear about it in the barbershop talk is LeBron, Mika, Tony Romo, you name it. Every athlete that was ever criticized in the NBA, NFL. We've seen this happen on the men's side. I don't think society right now is quite used to the women's side of sports being criticized.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think that that's the case. I really think so. When the criticism does come, and a lot of the men say, "Well, we've been hearing this for years." I don't think society is used to hearing that, because a lot of the times we're not hearing about a lot of these women's athletes, and it's not their fault that we're not hearing about it. It's the sports networks, it's the content creators, it's people that are not putting the word out on these athletes. So I think once we get to a point where we're used to hearing the criticism, then everybody will understand, okay, this is part of sports. But right now, I don't think they're used to hearing this. So that's where all the hoopla comes from at this point.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So, let's take it from the let's take it from the hardwood to the baseball diamond. I've been wanting to ask you this all day, because my guy Ronald is back. And he hit a home run the first time they give it back. So can we make a run? Our Atlanta Braves make a run to the World Series now that he's back. You have the floor.
I think with him being back, it's going to open up a lot. And particularly with their lineup, you put him back in his natural position to lead off, and then you can just let the rest of the lineup flow as it needs to flow. I think the biggest step is when Spencer Strider hopefully comes back. But if he comes back and he can maintain a level of consistency and stay healthy, that pitching rotation of Strider, Schwellenbach, and Sale, 1, 2, 3, regardless of order, there are very few, and I mean very few. I don't think there's a handful of teams that can compete with that 1, 2, 3 in the entire league. And then you also have to look at the fact, outside of Spencer, who's been the best pitcher outside of Spencer Schwellenbach, who's been the best pitcher, most consistent pitcher for the Atlanta Braves this year?
That's a good question.
That would be one AJ Smith-Shawver, who we were talking about him as like the fifth guy, because you're looking at Strider, you're looking at Schwellenbach, you're looking at Strider, you're looking at Sale, you're looking at Schwellenbach, you were looking at Ronaldo Lopez, who unfortunately he's hurt and he's going to miss a good portion of the season, and then you're looking at like Bryce Elder and AJ Smith-Shawver really competing for that fifth spot. He's been the most consistent pitcher this year outside of Schwellenbach. So I am happy to see him actually taking that next step and becoming that guy. Because if he can become that guy on the back end, I feel like the Braves can be good. I think my biggest worry is still their middle relief. And it's the bullpen, the middle relief, because Raisel Iglesias, he's had his moments, but he's been a little more inconsistent this year than he's been his run with the Braves. So don't be shocked if they go down to the minors and call up one Craig Kimbrell if Raisel Iglesias keeps struggling. Is Craig Kimbrell what he was like Braves and early Cubs when they won the championship? Absolutely not. But if you're seeing what he's doing in the minor leagues, he's doing really good. So don't be shocked if down the line he gets a call up. If nothing else, just gives you another arm in that rotation to kind of give you some depth and really offset a lot of those guys and help them get rest when they need it. Do I think the Braves can make a run though? Still, absolutely, because they're still one of the most talented teams in the National League. I still think they can make a run. I mean, it's the Dodgers, it's the Mets. Who else is there out there really balling right now? The Chicago Cubs have really surprised me with how they've looked so far coming out the gate this year, and the San Francisco Giants as well. So, and the Philadelphia Phillies. So I mean, the NL has showed itself to have gotten a little deeper this year, but the Atlanta Braves, I feel like, are still a team when healthy can contend and be the best team in the National League and contend for a World Series run. So I definitely do still think they can make a World Series run. Having a Ronald Acuna Jr., who I said in the chat is one of the 5 most talented players in baseball, because shout out to Luis Knows Tunes. He posted the question to me in the chat as far as like who do I think is talented? And I said the 5 most talented players in Major League Baseball right now, as we speak, are Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., and Bobby Witt Jr. Okay. They are the 5 most talented players in baseball right now, in my opinion. Ronald Acuna Jr. is up there from the standpoint. He when I think of talent, I think of the term they like to use is 5-tool player, which basically means you can hit for contact, you can hit for power, you're a good base runner, you're a good defender, and you have a strong arm, and you have a strong arm, and you can throw that, and you can throw that, and you can throw that ball. So I'm looking at guys like Judge, I'm looking at guys like Acuna, Tatis, Bobby Witt. For me, they are the 4 ultimate 5-tool players in all of baseball. And then with Shohei Ohtani, I mean, the dude is literally like this generation's Babe Ruth. So there's nothing more that needs to be said about Shohei Ohtani. But the Atlanta Braves can definitely make a run. Because Matt Olson's been hitting the ball better. I feel like once they haven't hit that rhythm as a team yet, but you feel like it's coming. Mm-hmm. And because I think the Atlanta Braves are like one of those teams to where like when they're in a rhythm where they're hitting, where they're doing everything, they are probably one of the more unstoppable teams in baseball when everything gets going. So yes, I do definitely think they can still make a run. And I mean, it's still early. We're basically 50 games in. We're a third of the way in. So there's still a lot of baseball to be played. So there's unless you're the Colorado Rockies, no one should be writing you off yet. So I mean, unless you're the Colorado Rockies or the Chicago White Sox, no one has no reason to really like write you off yet. So there's still a lot of baseball to be played.
I have to ask this question. If we were to make a run to the World Series, do we trade Profar next year because of that suspension that he had? Do we trade him next year?
Can I be completely honest with you?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we do. They signed him to a good money contract. I personally still think he gets a shot, just from the standpoint of seeing what that lineup can do if it's completely healthy. Because I feel like what you do with that lineup, if it's completely healthy, it's Acuna, Profar, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, and then you go Drake Baldwin 6, you go Michael Harris 7th, and then your 8 and 9, and then your 8 and your 9 is pretty interchangeable at that point. So we'll kind of see where that goes. But no, I think Jerickson Profar I think he gets a shot here. I think he this will be like a mulligan for him, even though he screwed up. I think this will be his mulligan. I think 2026. I think he gets one shot. He gets one shot.
All right. So I had to ask you that question, us being a huge Braves fan. But hey, Got to ask you, what was your opinion on Saturday night main event? How do you feel about the Dangerous Alliance? Well, the new Dangerous Alliance for people who are not wrestling historians. That was the original alliance that Paul Heyman had with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Larry Zbyszko, Ravishing Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton, just to name a few. What do you think about the new addition of Bronson Reed? Do they have too much muscle in that group?
Jesus Christ. You naming off the Dangerous Alliance like that, bro. One of the most I mean, that is like a workhorse's dream as far as like being in a faction right there. Those names you read off. People just don't understand. Before people don't understand with Stone Cold. Before the neck injury, bro. Before the neck injury, like before the injury started piling up, Stone Cold could Stone Cold could give you a 20, 25, 30-minute classic. He was just that good before the neck injury.
Larry
I think Saturday.
Zbyszko, Paul Anderson. You
Oh yeah,
know,
exactly. Exactly. Just you nothing but workhorses. That all the Dangerous Alliance was nothing but workhorses. Um, I think Saturday night's main event was a good show. It was a good show. I like the Jey Uso Logan Paul match was good. It was definitely good. Right man won. I don't think Jey Uso doesn't need to lose that belt until at the earliest SummerSlam. He deserves to run with it that long. Um, I think if I had to pick a match of the night, it would probably be Damian and Drew. If I had to pick a match of the night, it would probably be the steel cage match. It would probably be Damian and Drew. I like the added dynamic of Jesse Ventura calling that match, and then the way he just roasted that ending with Damian Priest walking out of the cage. And fans didn't like that ending too. And personally, I kind of see why. I can see the gripe because Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre has arguably been the rivalry of 2025 so far. They would be the rivalry of 2025 if Punk, Rollins, and Reigns didn't happen. So I mean, they've been putting it in. So so yeah, I would say Damian and Drew is probably the match of the night. I did enjoy the gosh, I'm trying to remember all the matches. The United States Championship match was actually decent with Zelina and Chelsea. That was a pretty good match. And for what it's worth, I like the entertainment value of Cena and Truth. I mean, everybody knew Truth wasn't gonna win that match, but I like the angle. I kind of was hoping Cena would have done a little more damage to Truth because I think now what they did with that match, it's inevitable. Cena's gonna go back babyface. It's just a matter of when. It's just a matter of how long are they going to be able to draw this face turn out. It's inevitable. We know it's going to happen. Now it's just a matter of how they tell the story, how they continue to chip away piece by piece, bit by bit. Because even though Cena won the way he did against R-Truth, they kind of chipped away at it again. With Cena kind of looking at Truth, almost like it's kind of like those movies where like someone gets possessed and they're doing all this evil stuff, and then a brief moment the possessed kind of fades away, and you kind of see their true self. And I think that's kind of what's going on with Cena right now. The only thing I don't like about the entire angle is no Rock. And quite frankly, if Rock's gonna be like this, he don't need to show up.
Right.
Like Bad Blood last year was pointless. Elimination Chamber this year was pointless. And it's like, I'm like, bro, like what are we doing? What are we doing here? And then like some of the interviews he cut like after the events and stuff, I'm like, bro, if you're gonna be the final boss, be the final boss. Don't be this character on TV and then just be all like this, trying to, tell what we want to do here and tell what we want to do here. No, man. Last year, what made The Rock so great being the final boss, he leaned into that character. He leaned into that character and made it his own. And he's not doing that at all this year. He's playing limbo. And I don't like that. So he's definitely got to do a better job. I mean, like I said, if he doesn't, he's got to show up at some point to to really validate this angle. And if he's going to show up, but I think his schedule's probably going to be so full, he's probably not going to be able to show up. So really, The Rock is completely pointless in this. It's like The Rock came, did his thing, and now he left Cena to get all the ass whoopings. It's basically what happened and basically what he did. So the Rock Final Boss went from being one of the best characters in WWE to being one of the more disappointing because he's leaving us hanging now. But
It's kind of like the Eric
but
Bischoff era.
yeah, you know, it's like
Eric
no,
Bischoff
like
era. Whereas Vince was very,
yeah,
very hands-on. And we talked about this on Sports PSP's podcast because, you know, Eric Bischoff was the first heel boss. But it seems like rather
right.
than getting involved in a lot of the matches and stuff like that, he was more hands-off versus Vince McMahon. He was more hands-on. And I think that people expected The Rock to be more like Vince McMahon was with the corporation, especially with him getting arguably the biggest star since Hulk Hogan in wrestling history to turn heel for the first time ever since he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. You know, this hands-off approach has kind of turned people off at a certain point. What do you think?
I think the Rock's characters definitely turned a lot of people off of him from this point because now it's kind of gotten to a point where like Cena's carrying this and it's like we don't need you, and it's like if you because we don't want you to show up if you're just gonna show up and not stay. So now you might as well just stay off of TV and let John Cena carry this because John Cena is one of the greatest storytellers ever. So if anybody's going to be able to really get the most out of this, I think Cena's going to be able to get the most out of this. At this point, we don't need The Rock. I mean, let me tell you something. If he had stayed around and they built this bad boy up, like what me and Flash was talking about, like the General Palpatine and Darth Vader, you know, Luke Skywalker, that kind of angle. I would have loved it if they were going. I would have loved it if they were going that route. But I mean, at this point, it don't even feel like they're going that route. So I really don't know. I really don't know what to say about what they're gonna do at this point. It's all just like The Rock is like, you know, it's like at this point, bro, just stay off of TV. We don't need you at this point. If you don't want to hang around and do something special with this angle, we don't need you.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times, man, you have to understand this. If you gotta, and I don't think they did a good job with the angle either. You know, if you was gonna put somebody in this, at least put a Triple H in there where where you know he's gonna be around or something like that. Don't put the Rock in here and gone for he's going to go get milk for like 180 days and then we don't see him again. So
The Rock was the right choice. I mean, The Rock is the right choice to be that ultimate. We need to take you down to make all this right. The Rock was the right choice. It's The Rock's fault that people are looking at him because he don't want to show up. But he was the right choice. I mean, he's the engine that could have made this role, but it's just he's not there. But he's the right choice still for this.
Okay. Do you see a redemption role for this angle? Like if The Rock is to come back and be heavily involved, like let's say a Paul Heyman is with with part 2 of the Dangerous Alliance. That is not the Dangerous Alliance. I don't care what anybody tells you. That is not the real Dangerous Alliance. The original Dangerous Alliance was with Stone Cold, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Ravishing Rick Rude, and Larry Zbyszko. That was the original Dangerous Alliance. This is the Dangerous Alliance Part 2. Let's just be clear about this. So do you think there's a possibility of the redemption of this character if he was to come back and be heavily involved and let's say John Cena loses the title at let's say Survivor Series?
Oh, The Rock could absolutely save his character if he was to come back and stay involved. He could absolutely save this character because it's what I talked about last year. What made the final boss character so unique and work so well. We've seen Rock as the mischievous heel. We've seen him as the conniving heel. We've seen him as the the cowardly heel. We've never seen this heel out of Rock. A paranoid, psychotic. We had never seen this version of the Rock. We had never seen a psychotic version of the Rock. And that's what made it work so well because it was a new layer that we had never seen out of the Rock. Because honestly, I didn't. Nobody really thought he had that in him, but he killed the final boss character, and that's what made it just That's what made it epic, and that's what made it iconic, and that's what made it work, and that's why it was arguably the most talked about character of 2024 because of the new layers that he brought and that he showed you. So that's what made it work. So I think if he was to show up and get involved and stay around, I think not only could he save the character, but it could bring new angles and bring in new pages to that storyline that could really make it even better than what I think is going to end up being, because I still think the angle is going to be really good. I think it's going to be a great angle, but Rock could really take it up a notch if he was to come back, because I was starting to think, because I was thinking that, everybody's talking about who's John Cena's final match going to be. The Rock made the most sense if John Cena was to turn back babyface and kind of have like this almost, kind of like a Star Wars thing. Like, I was corrupted, I didn't like the person I was. I was doing all this stuff because I felt like I was going to get ultimate success, but ultimately it didn't get me all of what I wanted to do. So, I mean, like I said, I think The Rock could really bring more layers to this if he was to come in. I just don't think he's going to now at this point. I just think his schedule's probably going to be too packed.
Okay. Final thoughts. Final thoughts before we get up out of here. I wanted to hear this particularly from you and Flash. Unfortunately, Flash is not here, but I want to hear what you think about this. I have to hear something about this. What do you think about Trick Williams winning the TNA title?
I'm not gonna lie. This is probably the one thing. If I'm TNA, I'm actually smiling ear to ear that you made this call and pulled it off, because honestly, it's the right call. Because we know when Joe Hendry's contract expires, he's going to WWE. Triple H loves him. I'm telling you, man, I think he's gonna put the rocket on him when he gets to WWE. So, but Trick Williams winning the TNA World Heavyweight title, I absolutely think is the right call, and I love it from the standpoint of what this partnership is doing for both NXT and TNA. It's doing, people aren't talking about it enough. It is doing wonders for TNA, for them being featured this much, and then with the WWE co-signing them. Trick Williams winning the TNA Championship, I don't think they could have asked for anything better. And Trick Williams being the entertainer that he is, now knowing he's probably going to go between Tuesdays and Thursdays between NXT and TNA, people ought to be intrigued by this to see where they go with Trick Williams being the TNA champion. And that was a pretty good match too, because I watched pretty much just about all the Battleground. Like, the only match I didn't see was the Sol Ruka Kalani Jordan match, but I saw the highlights. And I'll just say their second match was better than the first one, and the first match was really good. And Sol Ruka's a demon. Sol Ruka is a hot demon. She is one of the greatest women's talents that has ever graced NXT, WWE. I mean, she is on like another level with it. But Trick Williams winning the TNA Championship it was definitely the right call. It was the right call, and I'm ready to see what they do with it. I'm excited because I like WWE now really putting their foot in waters like that, where you see guys when you see a wrestler winning another company's championship. Because if I'm not mistaken, Trick Williams became the fifth wrestler that has won both the NXT and the TNA world title. He joined the list that's Nick Nemeth / Dolph Ziggler, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, and Drew Galloway / McIntyre. So think about the names he just joined that has won the NXT and TNA World Championship. That is a legendary list that he's now a part of. So believe you me when I say if I'm TNA and I'm NXT, I'm like bro, it's exciting. I was actually really happy they made the call, and I definitely think it's the right call. It's done. The NXT TNA partnership has done wonders for both brands, and I'm just excited to see where they're going to take it. I really am, because it was one of those things where I thought Jordan Grace was going to beat Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's title. It didn't happen, but now I want to see the women get more featured between both shows. I want to see new names like the men. I want to see new names get featured on both shows. There's still so much more that partnership can do. I think it's been great for both brands.
All right. Oh, look, man, I have to agree with you, man. Look, it's good to see Trick Williams back with some gold around his waist. And look, hey, I can't wait to see what else they got in store. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait.
I can't either. I can't either.
I cannot wait to see it. But on that note, let me ask you a question, man. Do you think they did us a disservice by not letting us in the Streamers University, man?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, I never personally made a video for it because I wasn't really too worried about it at the moment. No, I don't think they're really doing us a disservice. I feel like HBCU.
That seems like it's just an updated version of college, and I'm not trying to go back to college.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm kind of on the old. I'm 37. I'm on the old side, man. I can't handle all that no more, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bro. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year. I ain't trying to go back and do all that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to go back to all that. Shoot, I mean, you got these guys already calling us OG and and all that stuff. I ain't trying to hear all that 24/7 all day, every day. It's bad enough here and now. I feel like I still look younger than some of them 20-somethings. I ain't trying to hear all that.
Yeah, no, I ain't trying to do. I would have loved to have met Cooking with Kaya, though. That would have been a highlight, though.
Boy.
No, I just want to see the little entrees to food that she be making. That stuff be good.
I'm sure you did.
You know, the Salisbury steak and stuff like that. And,
steak, steak, definitely steak, rump roast.
You tell me that entire time you didn't see that big old steak she had cooked that time,
bruh. Oh no, don't get me wrong. The girl can throw it down in the kitchen. Don't get me wrong. She can cook, but I promise you, the first thing you're thinking about is not that food. The first thing you are thinking about is not that food. No, I promise you. I promise people that the food is not the first thing he's thinking about. The food may be delicious, but it ain't the first thing on his mind right now. So we just gonna leave. We gonna leave that alone. We gonna leave that alone. We gonna leave that alone.
Oh man, well on that note, man, we gotta go home, but we got to get the heck out of here, man. Tell the people where to follow you at BRL.
Oh, absolutely, as always. Even though we were down a man, and always shout out to Flash. We hope you get better. It is always a pleasure to share the spotlight with my big Columbus homie. BRS Sports is, as always, is the TikTok handle to follow. Follow me at BRS Sports because I'm always bringing that real flair to the sports talk game. You can find my link tree is in the bio of the TikTok. You can find my IG, my Twitter /X. I have a Facebook page, and I also have a Discord. Y'all, if y'all ain't already in Discord, I got an active link in the link tree. Click it, join up, come in with me. Because let me tell you something, the Discord has been a little dry as of late. I don't want to cut it off just yet, but I need some fresh faces in there. So if y'all click the active link and get in there and chop it up with me, I will be more than happy because I do kind of want to get the Discord off the ground. So y'all definitely click up in there and join up as well. And like I said, and it's always a pleasure to share the spotlight with you, champ. One Georgia brother to another Georgia brother. We're going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to rep. And as I always say, because if y'all have any topics y'all want us to talk about, feel free. If y'all got anything, any ideas y'all want us to post about, talk about, feel free. Send it to Champ's IG. Send it to my IG. Send it to Flash's IG. We'll be more than happy to talk about it because we discuss everything with each other anyway because this is what brothers do when we have a podcast like this because we in this with each other all the way. We want to see this bad boy grow. So definitely bring it your way because it's like I always say, A topic not thought about is a topic not talked about.
And on that note, man, Flash, get well soon. You cursed the show tonight. I had my 5 power outages. Flash, get well soon, man. So I think you put a hex on by not being here. But man, look, all due aside, man, Flash, get well soon, man. It was not the same without you. Like I said at the beginning of the show, he probably would have killed us both. And we said we was gonna cancel the show.
Boy, I'm telling you, bro.
Because I was thinking, because I thought about it for like 6 months. I'm gonna tell you, like, no, let's not do that. He'll ride if he'll come out with Wisconsin and ride against both of us.
I know that right, boy. I'll tell you.
But but like he always said, the show must go on. But on that note, we appreciate y'all for joining us. We will see you next Monday, and we will be coming up with a little bit more of that NFL talk because that pigskin is less than 2 months away. And on that note, we are out. Peace. Drive safe. Remember, do not get in trouble. The judge don't get back to Wednesday. We gonna holler.